welcome to day 3 of Reclaim Open. Marin, can you believe it?
No, I'm really excited.
I know
2
you
days
are.
to get excited, and now we're finally here.
And actually, this is this is a new panel for us. We haven't done this in the previous Reclaim conferences. And Marin, this is kind of your brainchild, as many of the coolest things of this conference are. Can you tell me what you were thinking when you had the idea of let's reach out and see what we can get?
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I'd love to share it. And we've prepared a couple of visuals as well to just explain a little bit more about where this inaugural student showcase has come from. Because at the very beginning, when we started talking about the themes for this conference, we thought, we're going to talk about our voices. We had a keynote yesterday from Bonnie talking about that. We're going to talk about our world. We're going to talk about the tech. And we're going to talk about why we're all here, what brings us to this. And so that's where we thought students are at the heart of that. So this is where we came up with this, right, Jim? We thought emerging voices from across our community, 10 years ago, this was all new. Now it's grown into a huge community.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm very interested in is people talk a lot about where are students, what's the question of digital literacy, how are they building? And I just like to hear what is the experience on the ground? Yeah. You hear often at conferences like this, people kind of, suggesting or theorizing or, but I want to hear from the actual people who are using it, whether it's faculty or students, and what they're getting out of it or not. So I'm super excited to hear that. So we do kind of want to meet those voices of tomorrow. We got 4 entries here that we're highlighting. They were reviewed by a panel of judges, scored, and we scored them according to innovation, applicability, as well as just creative use of the technology. So today you're going to hear from those folks behind these 4 projects. And I think that one of the projects, we have a proxy who will be speaking for it. So that's exciting. So without further ado, do we want to look at the projects, Marin?
Yes, let's. And there will be a winner announced at the end of the session. So here are the 4 finalists.
Great. So the first one, Hilltown Edge Magazine, Olivia Grozer and Grozier, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and the Sony Honor fashion journalism students. So I think we have the folks here. So after introducing them, or should we just bring them on now?
Yeah, I think let's bring everybody on. There's 10 of us here in the room, and then we'll hear from each finalist. But maybe let's get everybody to just say hello.
There's Olivia.
Hi.
Ava and Jesse.
Hello.
Hi.
Miriam. Sarah.
Hi.
Kate.
Hello.
Ajax.
Hello.
And Ed. Okay, great. So we have all our folks here who are part of this. And so I think how we want to break this down, the Diplomacy Lab, Sophia Raymond, Mahima Suresh, Maisem Al-Kakani, Enzo Gagnier, Kate Tillett, and Morgan Hendrickson. So we'll hear more about that. The Red Dragon portfolio theme, which if you were here yesterday, you heard a little bit about that from Ed and his presentation. So I'm excited to hear more about what that looks like for inclusive design. And finally, the State Times and Woni.fm, which is Rick Heel and the staff of the statetimes.com. And I think Ed will be talking to this for that. Is that true, Ed? Great. All right. So let's go to the first finalist, which will be Olivia. Olivia? All right. Let's...
Hi, Bill. Thank you for having me today. So basically, Hilltown Edge Magazine was created as an online platform in Dr. Portway's fashion journalism class for students to showcase their work and have an online portfolio. And the style of the magazine mimics the style of prominent magazines, fashion magazine websites, to give students a feel for what their future professional work would look like on such a platform. And just as the class mimics the expectations of the fashion industry, on the website, there are different categories for students to showcase their work and their different projects, such as shopping pages, news articles, catwalk reviews, and editorial photo shoots. This project as a teaching assistant for me was the initial stepping stone in my work in web design, and then has also helped me gain a lot of experience that I use in my career every day. While I don't work in fashion, I do work in sports media, so this is something that I use on the daily is just web design. And it's just been an honor to give students a dedicated platform where they can showcase their work and also build their portfolios as they embark on their future careers. And I just want to thank my mentors, Dr. Portway and Ed Beck, for nominating me. And so I could be a part of this event. And I'm really excited to see all the amazing creative work. And thank you.
Well, we don't have live applause from the audience, but I can see a really lively chat. And Olivia, just because this is obviously a big deal for us, we do want to show our appreciation. So get ready for your round of applause. Back over to you, Jim. Sorry, Jim, you're off stage, so we can't hear you just now.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. I pulled myself off when Olivia was not showing up. So let's talk with finalist 2. And there's about the project. Olivia did a great job of breaking that down. But that will be part of this if you need that. And there is an actual view of the site. Anything in particular, Olivia, you want to say about the site or the design before we move on to the next finalist?
I think I pretty much covered it, but I think what I really enjoyed about working on the project was showcasing student work and also just seeing how different forms of creativity can come to life in the different assignments that they had in Dr. Portway's class, and then under the guidance of Ed Beck, and just giving them a way so they can visualize what their work would look like in their future careers. So that would be the thing I would highlight today.
Great. Thanks again. Okay. And I don't know why it's going. Finalist 2. Here we go. Diplomacy Lab. So we have people here to speak with us about the Diplomacy Lab. And who wants to speak? Is that Miriam? Should I bring you up as the one to speak to this?
I can speak to it.
Ajax, great. All right.
Yes.
Good.
So yeah, my name is Ajax. So for our project, Virginia Tech partnered with the U.S. Department of State through the Diplomacy Lab program that Virginia Tech offers to develop a resource highlighting key milestones in U.S. and Vietnam relations. Our goal was to create an educational curriculum that encouraged mutual understanding between students from both the U.S. and Vietnam, and that helped present the Vietnam War through a lens more so of like reconciliation and the progress achieved through the 3 decades of cooperation. We were honored to present our work to the Office of Mainland Southeast Asia in Washington, D.C., where Director David Gaynor and 2 of his colleagues gave us the opportunity to present our website and our findings. And that allowed us to show our work to individuals who play a direct role in shaping U.S. relations with Southeast Asian countries. That experience reinforced the real-world importance of our research and the value of effectively presenting it to the public. To bring all this together, our class had 15 researchers. We were all studying like international affairs, economics, political science, and this was divided into 3 teams. We had the culture team, which is the team that I was on, exploring how cultural exchanges influences post-war perceptions and diplomacy. The diplomacy team analyzed the political, security, and economic factors shaping bilateral relations. And then the web development team, which is the team that Kate is a part of, built an interactive website and showcase our findings in an engaging and accessible way for all. Kate, would you like to take over?
Yes. Would it be okay if I shared my screen now?
Absolutely. I am going to put it on stage.
Awesome. So
and then I'll remove mine. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Great. You're set.
you. Awesome. So I'm just going to give a little tour of the website and kind of explain what we were thinking as we built it. So this is the website. Ajax just did a great summary about the project. And as we began this project, I was on the development team, as Ajax mentioned, and I kind of realized that none of us really had any experience in web design or building a website or an app or anything like that, because most of us were international relations majors or national security, and so we were kind of stuck. So we reached out to the library, and Miriam was able to help us. She's been so helpful throughout this whole process, and she referred us to VT Domains and WordPress, and we were able to use them to create this whole website, and it was very intuitive and it was super helpful. And we were able to implement a lot of different technologies through it. So for example, we have links like this throughout the whole website where they connect to the actual information that we wanted to share in order to allow people to we wanted people to be able to experience the different cultures in their own homes. So like, for example, with these recipes, like we shared the link so that they're able to go create the recipe in their home and learn more about Vietnamese culture, or for Vietnamese students to learn more about American culture. We also integrated other technologies. So we created through NightLab, we created story maps and timelines, which were interactive ways for users of the website and students to learn bite-sized bits of information about the US and Vietnam. So this story map goes across both countries and it highlights important places in each country. We also have a timeline that we were able to create through NightLab and upload it into WordPress, which was really nice. It was very easy to embed it into the website. And this is all coming from people who have very little experience actually building a website. So it was really nice that it was relatively straightforward to do. We were also able to embed playlists because a lot of students enjoy listening to music, and so we wanted to make music be part of the way that they experienced another culture. So we have both American and Vietnamese songs and playlists to allow people to learn more about another culture through music. Additionally, we were able to we created lesson plans. One of the groups created lesson plans that we were able to embed in the website as well. So there's PDFs so that teachers can print them out or download them and use them in their classrooms. And then one of my favorite parts of the website is that it is able to be translated into Vietnamese. So none of us spoke Vietnamese, but there's like an app on WordPress where we were able to just have it automatically translate into Vietnamese, which makes it accessible to people in both countries, because that was part of the goal, was to be a resource that could be used both in the US and in Vietnam to teach each about each other's countries.
Yeah, I mean, this website really did stand out to me in terms of the way in which you used like playlists and the idea of building like food and music as a part of culture and kind of marrying that. I was really impressed. So Kate, thank you very much. Kate, I showed the website, but I didn't show you. But this is Kate, who was talking to us so brilliantly over the last several minutes. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
Great. So that's another awesome session. Our next site, can you introduce our next site, Maren? Who's coming up next? I want to go back to the
Sorry, Jim.
slide.
Yes. Wait, before we move on, there is
Yes.
a round of applause here to be had as well.
Please.
So
thank you.
well done, Kate. Well done, AJ.
Thank you.
So just before we jump on to the third finalist, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who keeps these comments going. I'm trying to jump between the personal chat that we are sharing here as panelists in the room, and also the chat that is happening on the conference session site. And I just wanted to say a big shout out to Olivia. The site is still getting a lot of love in the comments and in the chat, and many people are really appreciating the work Kate and Ajax just shared. So well done, everybody. You know, I think we all appreciate as educators that it's not easy sharing your work, particularly work like this in progress. So well done. And yeah, that's a big kudos from all of us. So thank you, and keep it going. And Jim, back over to you.
Yes, thank you, Maren, for saving me. And to keep it going, actually, we're going to be talking about the Red Dragon portfolio theme out of, yet again, SUNY Oneonta. Go SUNY Oneonta. And this is an inclusive design lab project. And we heard, as I said before, a little bit about this yesterday, but I would love to hear more from our folks about the Red Dragon portfolio. Who wants to take the stage? Ava, Jesse, Mary, you let me know.
Hi.
All right, you're on.
All right. Sharing my screen.
Okay. Let me find your screen. Okay, I'm bringing it up for you right now. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of the other one. And we will be done, I think. Good.
Yep. Oh, there we go.
There it is. Perfect.
Right. So our names are Ava and Jesse. Over the summer, we collaborated in an e-portfolio theme to be used school-wide. One of the first things that Ed had us do was he threw us into WordPress with no prior experience. And our first goal was to create a theme that was easy to use across every major. The original 2025 WordPress theme was very overwhelming. So it compiled around over 70 patterns and maybe in many customization options. And doing this gave us a perspective on how we would want to change the site and create a new theme.
Yeah, so our main goals were to make it easy for students of all skill levels to make their own portfolio. Both of us are art majors, so we had a little bit of prior knowledge of graphic design and stuff like that, but we wanted to make it easier for students who didn't have that, who were majoring in things like education, nutrition, and anything else that didn't really use the internet very much. And we wanted them to have the same chance to have a functional and professional looking portfolio. So we also used school spirit colors and our school mascot to make it a little more friendly to look at, and pretty much just adjusted the site to try and make it a little bit easier for people to create their own portfolios without having to commission it or spend hours and hours learning the ropes. One of the first things that we did was make sure that our theme met the ADA standards. That's the Americans with Disabilities Act. A lot of websites nowadays are kept in a way that it can be used on multiple different platforms. You can use it on your phone, your computer, and it'll still look pretty much the same and you'll be able to use it. We also had to keep in mind things like the text, making sure that it didn't become blurry once you zoomed in, making sure that people with screen readers would be able to use the website, and making sure that the color palettes didn't cause any eye strain. And we used something called AXE, which is an accessibility checker, to make sure that those color palettes and the text were readable for everybody.
Yeah, so this is an example of some of the different styles on the 2025 theme. The first 8 colors we borrowed from the 2025 theme, but we built upon it by adding 2 on the bottom of the Oneonta spirit colors. You can use these different section styles on different group blocks to quickly change the background and text colors. As you can see on the right, there's 5 different styles. We collaborate as a team by communicating through Microsoft Teams. Every Wednesday, we hold Scrum-style meetings, which are structured, quickly run meetings to catch up on what we've been working on throughout the week. We rotate leadership of these meetings each week, and we keep tabs on what we're working on by utilizing the project board feature on Teams. We have in progress, completed, and block tabs to specify.
So what we're planning on doing next is creating an ePortfolio gallery to store all these ePortfolios and put them into a single place where students can look through and find inspiration for their own portfolio sites. You should be able to sort it by major and find sites that directly correlate to what you want to do with your portfolio. And we're also going to be visiting classrooms around campus. One of the things that's kind of overwhelming about web design for a lot of people is the amount of time that it takes for people to learn it. But we're going to be able to come into classrooms and help you guys out with figuring out the ropes and getting to where you want to be with your portfolios. We're also going to be providing support to professors and students outside of class. You can contact us whenever to get some help on your site. If you have a vision for something you want to make and are having trouble with it, we're there to help you. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. That was great. Appreciate this. This is Ava and Jesse who just presented to us. Your slides were up, so I'm showing you here. So basically, you have become kind of like consultants for any students. Do you also work with faculty on this, or is this mainly focused on student portfolios?
Yeah, we're hoping to help out faculty with their websites too. This is accessible for both students and faculty on the Open Lab.
And do you all have portfolios on the Open Lab? Have you used your own sites as kind of like, this is my example to build from?
Yeah. Yes, we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Final question. I'm sorry, because I'm a bit of a WordPress geek. Before using Full Site Editor, and I kind of said in the comments, like, that's a brave new world that a lot of old, crusty WordPress people like me won't go to. Had you used WordPress before, or was that your first experience with kind of getting up and running with WordPress?
This was our first experience.
Yeah. How do you find Full Site Editor to work with?
Very, a little convoluted at first, but after, learning the ropes, we were able to do it.
And how do you find introducing it to, like, training other people to use it?
Well, we kind of, after going in with no prior experience, we kind of learned what we would want to know and how we would want to use it. So we're just using that experience to create an easier theme to use for other students. Yeah. The first time we went into a classroom to sort of help out with creating, like, starting out on portfolios, it was definitely good to be able to, like, move around and help people as they needed it. Also, one of the things that we did do during the course of this project is remove a few of the features that weren't really necessary for the beginning. We want this to be like a totally, like, easy to start off way for people to just barely begin their portfolio, and then they can add on all of the fancy bells and whistles later. But we just didn't want people to get lost along the way. So part of it is just helping people figure out where to go for their first time touching WordPress, pretty much.
I just really love the model, and kudos to everybody involved. I see Professor Portway also saying, see you at 1 o'clock. You're obviously working with her class and her students, but, like, the whole idea that students are figuring out how it works, a technology specifically, and not coming with the same, say, prejudices someone who's already worked with WordPress has, and then figuring out and then learning and teaching that way is just a brilliant model. I think it's great. And so kudos to an awesome project. I really love what you all are doing there at Oneonta, and it's inspiring to see you all, like, not kind of, the students leading the students, right? That co-teaching experience is great. So anyway, anything else? I do have your kind of link to the GitHub repository, where I believe, Ed, if I'm right, this is where you can find that red drag portfolio if folks want to use it.
Yeah, and I also threw into a chat a link to WordPress Playground, where if you click that link, it'll automatically set up a WordPress site in the cloud and auto install that theme for you, and also just set up some defaults kind of similar to how we set up our Open Lab. So for example, like, if you click that Playground link, there's nothing on the front page. That's on purpose, because if you click Edit Page, then it immediately pops into the pattern inserter, and we programmatically linked that so you have 4 different patterns that might be good starters for that front page. And so when we visit, Dr. Portway's class at 1 o'clock today, we'll be showing the students how to do that, and then we'll start to say, okay, think of these patterns like Lego blocks. Delete the top one. Let's pick a different banner for the front page. And those banners were based on what Ava and Jesse designed for their own portfolios. And I think we have 9 different portfolio banners, 9 different templates of what the top of the page could look like. And then we have 10 different color variations. And then each one of those color variations and styles could be themed different 5 ways. So, that's a lot of permutations. We wanted to create this so that it's a template, but not a cookie cutter.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And I think it will have bearing on work that other presentations over the course of the day. For example, Tierney Steelberg and the folks at Grinnell College are talking about their process of helping faculty and students build portfolios. And they do, similar to you, Ava and Jesse, very specific training for their community. And I'm sure there will be a lot of crossover in terms of what do they use? Do they use full site editor, and how do they do it? So definitely a connection there that is cool to see. So great work. Let me go to the next slide because I don't want to cut off anything. I know you brought your own slide deck, so I don't think that will be a problem. But there is more for folks who want. We'll put that. There's the help.openlab.oneonta.edu. If you want to see more, I'm sure Ed or Maren will put that in a link. But thank you, Red Dragon Portfolio Theme folks, for a great presentation and also just a great project that shows that I mean, editorializing, be careful, but I've seen a lot of these projects at a lot of different schools. And I always believe that those that work are those that have support, and they build a community of support that can go into various classes, that can work with various students and faculty, and it's a shared effort, right? And it's not just turn the key, a turnkey solution. They can work in different ways, but not for projects where you're trying to really shape and build a sense of, voice, but also certain skills that you can take beyond. So very cool to see this. I really love it. And I think it bodes well for the success of this project and Oneonta.
Wow. I think we deserve another round of applause, and everybody in the chat is really showing their appreciation for you all. So Ava and Jesse, very well done. And again, thank you also to Ajax and Kate and Olivia, who've already spoken.
Great. Okay. Finalist number 4.
Okay,
Right.
Tim, let's do a quick recap. For some people going off the stage, some people are coming on the stage. I think, Ed, you are staying. Ava and Sarah and Jesse are allowed to take a back seat. So over to you.
Yes. So with the 4th finalist, I think, Ed, it's just you and me. We're the last people on the island right now. So everybody is happy to be off the island. Can you tell us a little bit about the State Times and Wony.fm and a little bit of the story behind Rick Hale?
So
how this happened?
So for a student showcase to highlight an alumni who was class of 2011 takes a little bit of mental gymnastics, but I have to tell you this story because this is an amazing alum. You might have heard yesterday that our Domain of One's Own initiative started in 2019. And I guess what I have to say is that's the official institution supported Domain of One's Own initiative, because before 2019, the Domain of One's Own initiative was Rick Heil, who was first working as a student worker at the IT help desk, and then later on, I think, worked for a year at the help desk as a professional staff. Rick, class of 2011, was a very active student and active in websites and web development. His roles on campus was things like being active in clubs like the student radio, clubs like the student newspaper, and also being president of the student association. And it seems building a little cottage industry, setting up WordPress websites for each one of those. And so Wony FM, which is our school radio, and the State Times, which is our school newspaper, were both set up as WordPress sites back in 2009, 2010. And what I discovered over the last couple of years is that Rick, behind the scenes, had been keeping these sites going without much awareness from the SUNY Oneonta administration or team, in just a very indie web, EDU punk kind of way, supporting current students in the projects that he had participated in when he was a student. And so I nominated him for this student and alumni showcase, kind of like as a lifetime achievement award, because it's time to bring some of these it's time to bring some of these sites home and put them under state resources. But I just thought it was an amazing story of how this guy, through his own interest and his own perseverance, made it possible for a school newspaper in 2009 and 2010 to be online and to be able to see in 2025 that same website is still up and has gone through several migrations and new themes, but that State Times is still building upon the archive and legacy that they started. And we're gonna do some things to dial those sites up to 11 and get those so that they're on our open lab or shared hosting infrastructure, and that we can better control those and get those modernized. But it's so awesome to see, this is what innovation looks like. And this is what those students did and how it lives on with a new generation of students. We had Olivia talking about the work she did with the fashion magazine, and wouldn't it be cool to 15 years from now look forward and see if that site is still being used and still being populated with new stories, because the State Times and Woney, they did stand that test of time.
There is a bit of that kind of, to your point that you were saying, there is a bit of that moment in 2009, 2010, and you described it a bit earlier before we went live, where a lot of universities were closing down their HTML, closing down any access to sites, and people were all forced out, right? And it's funny that this was a worker at Oneonta, a student who took all that stuff, who preserved it, and it's finally being brought back in, right? Like kind of reclaimed, if you will, by the university, and doing it with the sites you've been brought up. But also that's a cycle that goes on and off. And I also often wonder if, like, I'd like to hear this too from various people, but in particular students, like, where are their sites now? Like, where do they live beyond the university? Like, is it Instagram? Like, is there kind of a struggle between where do I get a space that's mine and maybe not on these gigantic platforms? Do I expect a university to deliver some of that for various different reasons, like, teaching and learning and experimenting and exploring? Like, I'm wondering, like, what's the appetite amongst folks? Like, how do they feel in their relationship to online? Are they done with it, right? Are they kind of exhausted by it? So this is an interesting project because, Rick would have been doing WordPress and kind of building out these sites around the time we got started at the University of Mary Washington. Like, this would be students who we supported at UMW back in the day with a project very similar to what you're doing with CBOX and the Open Lab stuff for Oneonta. So it's funny to see that come full circle and for him to be brought back in. It's a wonderful story. I love it. Anything else you want to say or share about that?
I just the final thing I would say, and I don't want to get off the topic of this nomination about that secular, life cycle, is you're gonna hear me talking a lot about accessibility. And we named our center the Inclusive Design Center to center accessibility in what we're doing. We're asking Ava and Jesse to go out and take courses to get national recognition in accessibility and certificates, so that as we do it in an accessible way, because we do not want to lose these spaces. Title II compliance is a real thing that is scaring a lot of people about their web presences. And we have to teach people how to operate on the web in an accessible way, because otherwise, who else is going to teach this stuff? If not us, then who? So we can't withdraw back. And so I know you all are here today, but go ahead and fill out the sign-up sheet for WP Campus's Accessibility Summit that is running 10 to 1 today, and get access to all those recordings and install accessibility checkers on all your sites so that you don't have accessibility weaponized against you for why you need to take this down, but instead build it into your practice, because it's really, really important.
That was a paid advertisement from Ed Beck for WP Campus. Thank you, Ed. fan.
Well, before we finish and say thank you to all of our finalists, I did want to point out one thing, Ed, that you mentioned around the sustainability. You know, here is one individual, an outstanding pioneering student who has done work that 15 years later is still supporting all of this. And I think sustainability and how much tech depends on individuals like that has been really one of the themes of the conference. And a couple of people have put that in the comments as well. So we just wanted to acknowledge that. You know, Rick can't be here with us today, but thank you very much for, you know, honoring his contribution. And Jim, I think one more round of applause while we bring everybody back on stage, because it's time to announce the winners and give everybody a big hand.
All back. Hey.
And in the comments as well, show your appreciation. You know, these wonderful students have all come and joined us at rather short notice, so big kudos, particularly to all of you who've prepared that. You know, we're really amazed to see your work today.
Absolutely. And I just want to actually share these slides one more time and say exactly what Maren said. Thank you all and congratulations. And there was a point that got brought up in the last session, but it kind of cuts across all sessions, is like you all have built some pretty amazing resources. We've seen one that were built 15 years ago, but yours are built more recently. And there are some sessions today later that are talking about archiving, but also just the life of these projects and what that means. Now, Ed talked about accessibility. That can be talked about in a lot of different ways. But what we've seen oftentimes is various services that people sign up and use, they go defunct, they become too expensive, you know, they turn on their clients, as often happens. So thinking through what open source and access to this stuff and learning how to use it, super important. And kind of the next step maybe for all of you as you think beyond that is, where and how are you going to kind of manage and build these spaces beyond the university? Because you will find sometimes a system may not support this stuff anymore, may close the door. And it also becomes down to individual archivists more often than systemizing that. So while this stuff got brought into the system again, maybe in 10 years, new CIO, new ideas, and it goes back out. So there's a kind of push and pull of what this is. And this is projects I'm sure many of you or all of you are very proud of. So thinking about its life cycle and where it goes next is probably an important piece. And with that, let's go to the winner, right? And the winner is, right? Actually, yes. For this inaugural showcase, get more? No? All our finalists, you all obviously, we selected you. We kind of wanted you all to be here and to share. And then we also wanted to kind of help you kind of move these projects on. So everyone involved here will get hosting through Reclaim for a year, a domain and web hosting, as a sign of just respect, not only for the work you did, but for coming here and sharing it. And then also just exploring and thinking about where these go next. So for Maren, myself, the whole Reclaim hosting team, we just want to say thank you for submitting and thank you for kind of being here and sharing your amazing work and for what you do. And who knows, 15 years from now, someone might be talking about your projects in a presentation. You never know.
Wow. Thank you, Jim. And just to bring it all home, we know it's not easy to do on, you know, a video call, is that Jim and I are going to try and take everybody off the stage who is an educator and leave everybody on the stage who is a student. And then we're going to ask everybody in the audience to have a big round of applause. And hopefully this will be a nice moment for you all to take maybe not an actual bow, but just know that we're really appreciative of all your work. And we're going to vacate the stage for you. And that will maybe be a moment, if you have a nice educator in the back room, to take a screenshot, and we will disappear and you will just hopefully hear well-deserved applause.
So was that awkward enough? That's what we do very well here.
It's hard to do this online, but it is heartfelt. And congratulations, everybody.
We make it all awkward. Okay, well, thank you all. That will conclude the first session of the day in about 20 minutes. So we have 20 minutes before our next session. We'll be hearing another session from the folks at Grinnell College about not about online portfolios, about portfolios and building these digital portfolios and personas out and how they've done it. And like I said, for the folks with the Red Dragon project, there's a lot of overlap with some of the stuff you're doing. So if you're interested, please check it out. With that, thank you everybody for coming to our first session of day 3 and looking forward to working with you throughout the day and beyond. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nom nom nom.